Ladies and gentlemen, back from Washington, D.C. Ladies and gentlemen, I think they got something they want to say. I think they got something they want to say. Ladies and gentlemen, I think they got something they want to say. D.C. I think they got something they want to say.
Welcome back, everyone. We're back with another episode. I'm your host, Kirsten. And on my right, I have
Maxine, the Democratic wild card.
Hey.
And hello out there. Is everybody here conservative in New York? Christopher Wright.
That's right. And we got someone who is a new, friend to the show.
Yes, the black free agent, Karl.
Yes, he's back. So we got him back. We told him, we were like, we had since you guys like really enjoyed the last episode, we said, you know what, let's bring him back on. And he was gracious enough to come back. So thanks. And
thank you.
Welcome back to the Politics Podcast.
It's great to be here.
Today we're on episode 9. Time is really flying. Mm-hmm. It's really amazing. Thanks to everyone for sharing the podcast and leaving comments. Please continue to share it with your friends and family. And, follow us on Politics Podcast on Instagram. And we're on Spotify and the Anchor app. And we're also on SoundCloud. So be sure to listen to us there and, leave some comments. How was everyone's week this week? What we got going on?
That was pretty good. It was pretty good. I'm getting ready. Been talking with friends of mine. I know I mentioned it last podcast a little bit about when the rally I went in Times Square. Mm-hmm. So, we had a group get together. I shot them Diamond Gibson and her dad, Derek Gibson, her father, over there doing the MAGA gang movement thing. So, I just want to say, shout out to y'all, man. And my man Hotep out there showed out. But, they're just trying to get together, do more marches, and we go out. We want to do Union Square next. We've been talking about. So we had to go out to Union Square, maybe sit up there, and just. I recommend we bring like another mic out there with a stand, and we'll just go out there and do our thing. But then when somebody has a problem, hey, get on the mic and say your piece.
Yes, please do.
Yeah. Max is like, oh yes, I will be there to do it. Okay, you're probably first in line.
That would my anxiety would be too high for that.
How was your week, Max?
It was good. Kids are off from school, so just it's always more stressful when they're home. Mm-hmm. And I'm just trying to de-stress from family function yesterday, which was so dysfunctional. Mm-hmm. So I think I need to meditate some more today to just get over that. But otherwise, pretty good.
Beautiful. Karl, tell us about what you got going on or what plans you have coming up. Anything you want to let us know about?
We, everything's regular. We still got the Make Math Great Again shirts. You know what I'm saying?
Dope.
Go get those. MakeMathGreatAgain.com.
Supporting Andrew Yang. We got.
Absolutely.
I'm definitely going to support that.
We're Yang Gang.
And you also have a subscription base. What can you?
Oh, that's Options Gang. I usually don't promote that because options trading isn't really for the faint of heart.
Okay,
I love it.
And I really don't want to. I never wanted to run. The whole thing was not really for me to make money off of it. It was really more to build organic community of black investors, but it just ended up being mixed with all types of people. So I'm just going with it. So
yeah, that's how it works. A lot of times when you have an idea,
you need a backbone to do option trading.
Yeah, you definitely do need some type of backbone.
When I've done it, it's tough.
It's
like highs.
It's not for the
like,
beginning. It's not for beginners to get into.
No, not at
all. Exactly. So that's why I don't really advertise it because I don't want people random people off the street to try to sign up.
Nah, because they'd be frustrated. They'd be like, I'm never work with this guy again, man.
When my mom first got she got divorced and she got into her settlement. She was like, I need to figure out what to do with this money and put it in option. I said, Mom, no, you cannot just come off the street and start options trading. You can't. Do you even know? I'm like, do you know what option is? Okay.
Enough said.
Don't even know what option is. So,
don't even get started.
Dope.
I'm gonna check you out.
There you go. So I'm trying to really get on this fitness life. It's so hard.
Oh, I do too, man.
I'm really, really trying. This summer is started. We're in June now, and I need to get my life together. So
do you work it outside?
As a L. I'm just aiming for next summer. I'm
that's my thing. I always aim for summer body 2020, but I gotta get my life together. So you know what? This summer, here's what I'm gonna pledge. I'm gonna do the intermittent fast. Are you still doing the intermittent fast?
Definitely.
Yeah, I'm gonna still.
never had my bagel, but it was all good.
I mean, it's still within the hour. You could just make sure by the time like you finish by 8. Exactly. I got to do this intermittent fasting. A good friend of mine is the person who did our intro, DJ Just. He's vegan now, and he's been he lost like probably like 50-60 pounds. Yeah, he's like Fit Life, like it's a whole thing. I just can't do that whole vegan thing, full out.
I love steaks
it's
too
like
much.
A real thing. Like it's like torture. It's like real.
And there's sometimes I just want fried chicken. I just walk by, I see like 10 piece up for like $8. I'm like, yeah, now I get that.
I can give up fried chicken, but steaks I can't.
I never liked fried chicken. I could definitely give up fried chicken. I do like protein, so I can't just not have some kind of.
But it's not even just like nutrition, like they take it to another level.
Ice cream, and like you can't eat ice cream.
No, but do you ever disrespectful a little bit? Like,
and that's what threw me off when they were talking about you can't eat pizza. I'm like, hey, why not? They're like cheese. I'm like, I can't eat cheese. I'm like, y'all bugging now.
Yeah, paleo. You could do paleo though. Paleo, you can have cheese.
Yeah, whatever, man. I want cheese. I can't. It's too much.
Just moderation, man.
That's all it is. You just gotta do moderation.
Everything is gonna.
Moderation is the key.
They do say mucus is the mucus and inflammation are the two main factors that cause disease. So limiting cheese, dairy, and like eating meats, that's what causes, a lot of the mucus and inflammation in our bodies. But like, listen, everybody is going to die. Like every single person. So if we're
you guys didn't know that, it's a little information.
You know what I mean? I know. Spoiler alert. Sorry. You're going to die. So it's just, we need to we got to have balance, but we can't live our lives like you can't just take every single thing out of the life that you enjoy.
I feel like a good thing is just be strict Monday to Friday and do your thing on the weekends.
Boom. Yeah.
I feel like you can. I feel
maybe
like
that's what we need to do.
Hey,
all right, let's try to do that. Let's
just take it like work. You know what I'm saying?
No, we're gonna try this June. It's June now. We're in June. We're in June today. I'm going to definitely focus on trying to get this month.
It's just easier to eat bad food. It's cheaper. It's more accessible.
But
your body is already preconditioned to it, so it's like crack. It's like little mini versions of crack.
I have my Coca-Cola
you gotta reprogram yourself. But that's why detoxing and being a vegan, they reprogram their whole system.
I won't lie.
When you walk by a sign, things don't pop up with like.
It doesn't even matter to them anymore.
I'm not gonna even lie. I gave up meat for probably like a year and a half, and I was easily easily in the best shape of my life.
Wait,
more energy.
What kind of every meat?
I had to stop eating meat. This is when I was in college. It was easier. I broke it coming home for Thanksgiving, and that's what got me back into it. Man. Like, as long as I'm away from my mom, it's really not.
That's what I say. I say the same thing. I go to my mom's house, it's over. My diet's done.
When I was in Haiti, I was having chicken for breakfast.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. So
good and rice. I was like, for breakfast.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. So, but I will say that like after a while, like you really did lose the craving. So like even now, like I don't really drink soda. I'll drink soda like if I mix it in like liquor, but like if I just grab like a Coke, like it tastes it's crazy. I'm not a sugar person either.
You're not? Oh.
Nah, like my stuff is meats, like cheeseburgers and meats. That's what.
How about snacks?
I'm not a snack person.
Chips.
So like even certain snacks, if I eat it, like it feel like I could feel the sugar. Like God damn, this is a lot of sugar.
Yeah.
My snacks are like peanuts with no salt or something like that on there. So
like Coke by itself tastes like so acidic to me. Like it's just like God damn.
Like what about like self?
I put little water. Like I'd have to put water in it to
dilute it.
Remember when you were a kid, the first time you had a soda, that feeling it just hit you. You're like, whoa, what? Your parents be laughing at you.
But that was the crack. That was the hit. When you was a kid, you was like, oh my God, in my veins more.
Because I have an age 10 is when they're allowed to start soda. And I joke all the time. I don't mean it in any way to anybody, but like I do say you act like a crackhead like all the time.
They don't. I don't think I'm doing anything for my kids.
Well, since she's got the like I'll have I have certain things that my kids are not allowed to touch, and so she'd be like, Mom, can I just get a sip of your Coke? Like, and I'm like, girl, relax, like she sees things like in the refrigerator, and she's like, oh my God, my mom has Coke in the refrigerator.
But if you're like in another room, you don't think she like grabs the soda?
Well, I have rules in my house, so my kids have to come to me to ask if they.
But what if they don't? So I
don't know. But the point I'm just saying is she just acts like you could see her like all excited about it. I'm like, chill, relax.
I went to my friend's house and their kids be wilding out. I'm like, and I'd be juicing it up more. I remember they're making it worse. And they'd be like, yo, chill. And I'm like, dang. They're like, man, they had like 3 sodas this morning. I'm like, dang, man, they are up. He was like, that's how kids are. They got the sugar.
I remember the first time I had a sugar rush. I remember being a kid. I had like there was a big big bag of Skittles that were in like the snack thing, and I ate the whole thing like by myself. And I remember running around like a crazy person. And my mom came home, and the babysitter was like, "What's wrong with her?" And I was jumping on the bed. I could not stop. But now I remember that like incident, and my mom was like, told me to take a shower and put me to sleep. I was like, you need to be sedated.
It's like a drug, man.
No, but it's
I was
the same.
literally
Funny.
crazy.
No, it is. It's funny.
But think about
It's
that
real-
though
it's
for
real.
kids.
No, like people don't understand. Like when you take crack, it's for like dopamine to get released in your body.
Yes.
It happens
Same
just
thing.
on a minor level
Oh
with
my
sugar.
God.
Like it's
Same
really
thing.
crack.
And that
Okay,
first hit's like a first hit of crack, like boom, you know. It's like, ooh,
All right.
So we're all gonna commit to try it.
All right, we're this month at least. Let's try to get our.
I'm doing
2020
the Monday to Friday thing. My
That's
weekend
it.
still
No, I
gotta
think
be
we can commit to that.
That's it. That's it. That's the best way. That's
Yeah.
it. All right, guys. Let's get into some. Are you ready to politics?
Yeah.
All
Yeah.
right. Let's politics. All right. So, recently, Housing and Urban Development Secretary Ben Carson testified before Congresswoman Maxine Waters at the Finance Services Committee meeting. He seemed not to be knowledgeable of simple real estate terms. He basically confused REO, which is real estate owned, with Oreo Cookies. And my question for you guys is Ben Carson in the wrong role as HUD? Wouldn't he be more qualified for Surgeon General?
You want to go first?
And I want to
That's your
first
good-
start
that's a good
with
question. That's a good
this
question.
is his okay. You've got to give us your history because that's what brought you into the conservative.
Yeah, for people listeners out there that are new listeners, the reason I looked at first time. Well, I was looking at conservatism in 2012 before Ben Carson and Donald Trump, but the first person that made me say, okay, I'm committed to voting Republican is Dr. Ben Carson in 2016. So I'll support him all the way from the beginning. And of course, as we know, I tell you guys many times, the media messed up that opportunity.
And you said your dad got you into him, right?
Oh yeah, my dad knew him, met him 3 times. They're both Seventh-day Adventists. My dad's a Seventh-day Adventist pastor, so they met within the church on different occasions. And I got the book Gifted Hands as a young. My dad gave me his book. He told me to read the book and said, hey, you can be black and successful in this country. You don't think you have to play a sport, music, be an actor. There's a lot of things black men can do in this country, be very successful. And he kind of thought Ben Carson was like the first person he was pointing at, because I was back that age. I was like Jordan and Jerry Rice and that kind of mind state as a young guy. And so he kind of showed me that route, and I always respected it because that was the first book I read that wasn't a comic book. And so I always supported him, and I'm glad he's in the position he's in right now. Is he more fit for Surgeon General? Yeah, I think so. I think he's more fit for that position. I was first a little confused by the position that he was offered, but
I wasn't. He was totally tokenized. So.
I mean, let's talk about
not totally tokenized.
Okay,
because he's making moves.
Let's get back to what you were saying. So you were a supporter of him, right, for president, right? Mm-hmm. And then he gets demolished.
No, he didn't get demolished. The media lied about the whole situation. What happened was he was the whole thing was with this West Point. It's military school, Army military school for guys that don't know out there. But he said that he spoke with administration from West Point and because they wanted him to go to the school, but he turned them down because he said, I'd rather go to a medical school, so when I graduate I can go straight to my field. When anybody doesn't know, you go to military college, you got to serve at least 2 years in the military after you graduate. So he said, I'd rather go right to the field than go to the military and then have to come back and then get into my field. So he said, it's like pretty much thanks but no thanks, and that was it. But the media took that and they went and did research, and they said, well, there's no paperwork that you got offered to the school and you didn't, there was no, and he said there won't be paperwork for me just having a sit down conversation with administration about attending the school and me saying no. Like, why would it be me signing anything or any documents for that? There's no need for that. So the media flipped it and made it look like, oh, he's lying to you. He never got offered an opportunity to go to school, when he never said he got offered opportunity to go to school. He just said he spoke with administration. So after that, he was right then leading the primaries at that time over Trump at the time. And after that happened, and he tried to come back and deal with the media, and he got upset one time yelling at him, and he just not really his lane, and he fell off in the voting after that, and that messed up his opportunity, and the media is responsible for that. So after that, I saw how Trump handled interviews and stuff like that, and when I saw him how he just demolishes the media, I was like, yo, this guy don't play around with the media, man. He kills them. So that's what made me look into Trump for the first time, and then when I saw his policies, I was like, okay, I'm down with Trump.
Okay, so now you're saying that you said now he accepted the position as HUD.
Yeah.
And
housing and urban development, for those who know.
Yeah, the housing, urban development. Now, you think that he's in the right position and your base is because he lived in the projects, that makes him fit to be the HUD? Or?
I mean that helps. You know what I mean? Because if you want somebody that's been into this,
so embarrassing. The black guy or put him in HUD.
No, it's not. Okay. No, it's not just put him in HUD. I mean, it's a situation that's going on. It's a big important situation in the black community now. Right now. It's in the city, and if you guys who are in tune with what's going on in the Republican side of things, he's making a lot of moves over there in HUD. I spoke with a couple people in HUD myself.
We're gonna get into that.
Yeah.
Karl, what do you?
So go.
Karl, what do you think?
He's definitely more qualified to be a Surgeon General. I think Trump figured his outreach to the black community would happen in housing and urban development
because he's black.
No, but I think it just came to Trump just needed a black person that he could trust in that position. I think that's really what it ultimately fell down to. And he could trust Ben Carson at the end of the day to not get into anything crazy. We got to understand Ben Carson's not a politician. He's not a polished speaker. Nope. He's not a good one. Even if you train, he doesn't even have it innately in him that even if he got the proper media training, which I'm sure he has, he still can't really deliver it. There's Bill Clinton's, George Bush's, Obama's are like certain types of charisma. You can't really replicate that. So he's just not really a polished person. But the problem I have with that question is that people act like, even like we said on the last episode, how politicians don't write laws. It's the aides that do it because they don't know half of them if they don't have a law degree. Right. It's the same thing with a lot of these appointments. Correct. A lot of the people who are actually doing the work, a lot of these appointments really end up being more figureheads if you really want to get down deep into it. So now if you look at who Obama appointed for the HUD people, he had that dude from Goodwill. No, Castro was the last one. The first one, the third one. Okay. The first one he had, he actually was the fourth one because there was an acting one in between. Wow. The first one he had was the CEO of Goodwill.
Let's not get into all the people who left in the first administration.
But let's look at Obama's choices for HUDs. The first one was the CEO, I forgot his name, something Donovan. He's the CEO of Goodwill. The second one was actually probably the most qualified one we've had in decades because he used to run the New York city housing development, but then he put Julian Castro, who's just a mayor from San Antonio. So
he needed that for his own political. So he did it too. So the problem, so everyone does it. What I'm saying is a lot of these appointments. Hold on, real quick. A lot of these appointments, if you look at the positions, the people don't have the credentials to match up to the appointment position, and this is something that happens across all administrations. So I get kind of upset when it's like, all right, you just had a Spanish dude that was a mayor, he had no experience, but now we got we got a black doctor with a PhD in the same position, and it's like, oh, where's his experience? It's like, if you want to be that way, you have to be consistent and apply it across the board.
Won't you take the effort to learn the basic? Come on.
He's just not a speaker. I'm pretty sure the dude was just nervous and messed the stuff up. But how much?
I mean, that's what the media got him when they came at him about West Point. He got angry, but he couldn't crush him with just him with facts and evidence.
She was asking him questions like.
But why even asking some of those questions? We're just trying to make him look stupid.
You've never met a person that's a genius, a book smart genius, but completely shuts down in social situations.
Yeah.
So that's what I'm saying. When I see a person like him, I look at him like he's from that cloth. Like he's not a public speaker. So I'm pretty sure if the same person wants to write an essay versus to explain the positions, I'm pretty sure Ben Carson's essay will come out better than the person who's questioning him. Exactly. But in a live situation, not everyone's a public speaker.
I'm gonna say something to
Trump,
you.
He's a president. Look how he speaks and how people talk about how the way he speaks, but he gets the job done at the end of the day, and that's all I care about is getting the job done. You don't have to be the best public speaker in the world.
I agree with that, but I'm gonna say what you said, Karl. One, I think the position in itself, the reason the switch at HUD, because think about if they told you need to figure out the house, the projects, the housing urban development, it's
the problems,
all the problems of all the it's just okay, this is overwhelming, I gotta go. You know what I mean? It's just he's leaving. Ben Carson's leaving after this. This is it. He's not doing the next term.
That's not confirmed. He
said
he did. No, I think he gave formal notification. He's not gonna quit before the term. He's gonna carry his term out, but he's not coming back.
He's not quitting. As
a lot of people are calling for him to resign
right now. But what I'm saying is, let me just say two things. So that's one thing I think about this position. If we say that Obama had 4 of them, maybe he was trying to get them right, and it didn't work, and we also say like you said Julian Castro isn't the right person. I mean, I would say a mayor. Mayors to me, they run cities. I think they deal with a lot of real time issues. So I wouldn't say that that's not a right idea.
Just because you had a position, you could be a bad mayor.
Totally. But I'm just saying your qualifications. Right, your qualifications.
He still ran a government. The guy went from being a surgeon.
Right, that's what we're just saying. We're just saying the reason why
Obama went from never having an executive position of power to running the country.
We're going to get into all of that.
That wasn't a problem.
Agreed. But he also is he's a genius. He's a genius, and he is.
That's bias. That's bias.
I mean, he's
that's
bias.
How? I mean,
the bias is just the bias.
He went to he was a Harvard Law.
Have you seen Ben Carson's credentials?
They're genius too. He's genius too.
But you're not. But
I'm not discrediting any of them. What I'm trying to say, and I'm just trying to make a point, and I'd like for you to let me know what you think. What I'm trying to say is, the job is very difficult. Just that in general. Like, think about how hard that is. So the revolving door of people moving and trying to figure it out, saying this is out of my hands. I understand that. But what I don't understand is someone like a Ben Carson, who is a genius, a brilliant mind. What he did in as a surgeon was unprecedented before him, right? So what we're saying is, what it looks like is that, like you said, the token. It looked like Trump, with everything that you've accomplished in your life, Ben Carson. All I see you is as another black man from the projects. Now go fix it.
That's how
that's what I saw. And you might say that's a little too ideological to think, and maybe I'm thinking a little bit too
deep with it.
Too deep, but I do feel like that's not the position that man is good for. He's a surgeon. He should be the surgeon general. He should be trying to figure out how the health of America is.
Not
this BS that you give him this silly job.
But it's not BS.
And he's not going to help.
It's not BS though. But
he doesn't know anything about it. And he thought Oreos were what they were asking him about.
But that's the whole thing. That's the Democratic Party. Look what he did to the inner cities. That's the reason the inner cities are the way they are, because what the Democratic Party has done. So you're saying we got a black man who's coming in here, and they're like, all right, he is head of urban and housing development to help that situation out, and you're like, what a crummy job. And it's like, you're pretty much saying, what a crummy community.
It's not. We're just saying not quality.
You don't say that's a BS job. It's an important job.
No, I'm sorry. I don't mean a BS job, but I meant a BS job for him.
Yeah.
For him.
Why?
Not a BS job.
But do you know what he's doing behind?
He is a brilliant mind. He should be using his surge. He was the first person
to ever. He's got a brilliant mind. You can use it in other areas than just one thing.
But that's not your... Dude, if I...
And you got to reach the community. What Republican person...
Would I ask Kobe Bryant to start doing my taxes, like, because he made he did well with his taxes because of his account. But
Kobe Bryant runs a successful venture capitalist firm. He doesn't have a finance degree.
Agree, but he has the right. His partner. He partnered up with that.
Yeah, but he still has to make decisions. Same thing with Nas. Same thing with all of them.
I was going to say Nas.
All of them.
You're going down a crazy rabbit hole.
But I would also say. No, I won't. I'm not. Think about Magic Johnson. Magic Johnson just quit, right? Because they said he was doing because they were talking internally.
That's not why he quit.
No.
The Jeannie Bush, and
that's not why Magic quit.
And that other guy, the guy that took him out,
Rob Polinsky.
Yeah. They were basically in the inner circles, the emails, they were saying that's
not why he quit. He quit because the Lakers leadership has no stability.
Agreed.
The family
that's the only reason why he quit. He loves the Lakers. He said he would still try to buy them. He's still going to be supporting them. He's still going to be ambassador for the Lakers.
Yeah.
It's the family.
Literally, it's just because there's no stability.
No, I understand that, but people were also saying that Magic wasn't doing the job. Like, this is not like he
and
was
there were
busy.
people that were saying that he was.
Exactly.
And this is to your point of, you have people that do, like, Magic is not, and I thought the same thing. I'm like, you want Magic to now be sitting in the office every day working on the Lakers?
What did Jordan do? Jordan did the same thing.
But
I mean, Jordan's the owner.
But see, how can you say that? Like, Magic Johnson in his tenure, he made an amazing pick with Lonzo Ball. Also brought LeBron James to the Lakers.
And how many great athletes became coaches after they left the league?
Most of the.
I'm not saying it. I'm talking about what people are saying, what the blogosphere is saying,
people
say everything. Fake news says everything.
People complain about everything. Yeah. But going back to Ben Carson, it's crazy to say that a brain surgeon would be unqualified for anything. Like, I mean, if you have any type of position, like if someone is figured out neurology and can operate on the brain, I'm pretty sure they can pick up any type of other position under that. Now, I'm not saying they're going to be the best person.
But
I have more faith in a brain surgeon than a Spanish dude that just happened to win a popularity contest.
He's a mayor. He's a popularity mayor. Don't say he's a Spanish dude.
Look at de Blasio. I wouldn't have de Blasio run a daycare, and he's the mayor of the greatest city.
Right.
No, he's the mayor. He's the mayor of the greatest city in the country.
Listen, they voted him twice. They voted him in twice
because there was no one else running.
That's Christine. We had Christine.
Again, there was no one else running.
No one. Who else was there?
I agree.
Seriously.
Like you had a lesbian that's mean. Like you had a bull dyke. Like that was just mad mean. Like no one was voting for her. You got to have a friendly lesbian.
All I could say,
that's what it is.
Get the bull dyke vote.
Can I just say that we are not saying that you can't do it because you're a surgeon. We're not saying that because you're a neurologist. We're saying that there is a position that would make more sense for you, and it
What if I would have counted that? What if I was? What if I
qualifies him?
But I mean, what if I would have counted that with the fact that I'm President Trump?
Okay.
I want to keep the economy booming. I know the Surgeon General is very influential in terms of affecting certain food industries, drug industries by giving out recommendations or not giving out recommendations. I know I have this 7-day Adventist who's a very religious and moral person. Even though I do trust him, I trust the fact that he's going to follow his moral code before he follows any of my instructions.
You're giving Trump too much credit there.
I'm just saying. So let me put him in. No, I'm just saying. I'm just saying theoretically. And even if it's not Trump, it could be his advisors. It could be his son that put this thing in that put this idea out. But if you could put him in a position that is directly gonna affect black and brown people, because HUD, it's not for rich Caucasians for the most part.
Right.
As opposed to putting him in the Surgeon General position where he could have a moral stance on something and might want to make a recommendation that could negatively affect the economy.
But that's every doctor, though. I mean, any doctor would be.
You don't know the medical industry.
And every doctor can have that same kind of. But
doctors who have that moral compass don't make it all the way up to positions like Surgeon Generals or the positions that.
No, understood. But I'm just saying, I would say
a Surgeon General, there's going to be no Surgeon General in positions that can't be compromised. You're never going to have a Surgeon General.
But you just called him moral. You just said he's a moral person.
Which is why he's not the Surgeon General.
All right.
I don't know.
What do you think, Matt? What do you think?
I mean, and they're making a lot of moves in HUD, by the way. People,
I disagree. I honestly feel
like it's not like it's just sitting there like some position that he's just sitting there not doing anything.
We can get it. How about this thing about he's going to make it so it's in shelters you basically can turn down transgendered people, or he's trying to raise the rent for people.
But do you know a transgender person could actually get out of homelessness way quicker than a black man could, right?
No, but a black transgender person.
No, it'll be better than a black man as long as you got that affiliation. You'll still have a black man has.
But what does that have to do with trying to get into the shelter, like at night? That night, okay, that's very general. But I'm talking about if you're transgender and you need a place to stay, you need a place to save your life for that night. You can't get in.
Well, see,
under this
new rule.
This is where people this is the crazy part about it. Because if you actually even know the homeless system, most shelters are run by the state. So again, the federal government does not even have authority over most of these state-run shelters. So just like New York, you think New York City, the legislation will not apply to a state-run facility. No. Just like how just like how weed is still federally illegal, but you got states that have reversed it and they're operating it under this jurisdiction.
The city runs.
So New York, we live in New York City. Like, New York City is not going to comply with any type of federal law that's on that level.
Correct.
Like, so again,
but in other places, you have to be the same case.
Granted, but you have to be smart as an individual. So when I see a black person getting racist treatment in Mississippi, I'm like, bro, why you out in Mississippi? Like in the rural thing of Mississippi. No, just
what real talk. What are you supposed to do? Move out of your home where your family grew? You have land?
If you've been in a place where your family been getting abused and for generations.
Right.
I mean, if you still have affinity to that place.
Correct.
That's psychosis. Like, if you can't just step out and just find a new place to be
Why
at,
can't
where
you just change the system, change the people,
Run
change
for
the thought
office.
process?
No, you could.
Why do we just leave? Why should we just walk away?
You could, but I don't see most people making change. I just see most people complaining.
This is
Dudes
my.
don't-
This is,
People playing victim.
Yeah,
this is my
playing victim doesn't get you
one thing I
anywhere.
just want to
Okay,
say.
Max, you
I just
didn't
want to
say
say one thing
anything.
about Ben. I personally think that you guys have thought way too deep about it. I do not think that Trump's administration was thinking that way. This is my opinion. I believe on the surface of it, they saw him as a black man who runs on the story about coming from the projects and turning things around for himself, and now go do that and make that happen for other black people.
And make sure that they do it.
But you guys do that shoot like you shoot it off like it's not a big deal.
I'm not saying. I'm just saying.
I agree.
I think that's not necessarily a bad thing, but was it the best use of his skills? I do not think so. I don't think
That's all I'm saying. And I agree 100% with her.
I personally believe that his story is amazing. I share a similar, I wasn't in the projects, but I share that whole, experience from him, that he has. And I want to see my other black and brown people have the same kind of experience. But I'm just saying, I do not think it was the best use of his skills.
Just to clarify, I don't think he would have made a better HUD secretary than a surgeon general. I do think he would have been a better.
Okay.
I'm not arguing that.
My last point I want to say about him is, even though he's considered a Republican and he is a conservative, I will always look up to any black or brown person that has accomplished anything that Ben Carson has, and it is personally it hurts me to see what I believe is him being tokenized by that party, and I think his reputation is being destroyed. I think he should have walked away when he, didn't win, because it looks like, first of all, you're like, you were just talking about this man being not qualified to be president, but now you're all good and you can be in his administration. That's weird. And then after that, everything he's ever done while he's been in Trump's administration, to me, has just destroyed his reputation. He's looking like he's not an intelligent man. He's a brain surgeon.
Yes.
And mind you, I know the way they talk. The media does, do with the clips, and I do feel they chose certain clips that would make him look really bad, and I think he was getting frustrated, and it was showing off, and he was, responding a little condescending, but I think he was personally, publicly embarrassed at that point. Mm-hmm. I do feel they were grabbing those clips. However, I do think that his reputation is for someone who doesn't know anything about him, and they see one little clip of Ben Carson, they're gonna think he's an idiot, and he's not. And I feel he needs to walk away at this point before the rest of the left.
That's what the left does. Anybody that's black and conservative.
No, but Chris,
it's not Republicans doing
Chris,
that.
You as
I said media.
It's Democrats.
Wait,
too.
can I just say something, Chris? You are a supporter of Ben Carson, right? Mm-hmm. You see him saying Oreo cookies, right? Does that, and that's the clip that's being played over and over and over.
Yeah, of course.
Does that not make you feel like, my God?
No, it makes me feel like this is a Democratic Party. This is what they do to any black man who thinks for himself. It was. He was trolling them. He was trolling them. He was like, what, Oreo cookies? And they were like, oh, really? Did he just really say Oreo cookies? And they were doing that because they're saying, look at this dumb black man that we have out here. Because that's what Democrats do to any black man who leaves their plantation. They treat you like a dumb idiot black man. And they want to try to, if any chance they get, they try to belittle you and make you look foolish when they can. And they try to do it to me all the time, and I always school them when they try, and I embarrass them, and that makes them get hateful. And usually when they try, this is online, of course, they'll try to drop an N-bomb or something like that. And I'm like, there's the same Democratic Party right there. Now we got to the root of it. You don't want to
see Ben
and they're doing the same thing right there. It's like that. If that was a black Democrat, and the Republican candidates would have talked the same way to a black Democrat male, it would have been all over mainstream media. It would have been like this racist party. Look how they treat black men. Look how they treat black people. But you see, the media mocks Ben Carson when it happens to, because he's a black Republican, not a Democrat.
And the messed up part about it is like he said, a lot of that is coming from the media, and this is why we've arrived, and this is why Trump is in power, and this is why we got to this intersection where we at in society now. Because if Ben Carson was the HUD secretary under Hillary Clinton's administration, he'd be still presented as that genius that we all know who he is.
Exactly.
But the fact that he's affiliated with the other party is why you see those clips get selectively edited and they portray him like that. So that's a whole different issue, you know what I'm saying? That where, and it's messed up where you kind of accepted that, because you're like, aren't you just tired of him seeing like just being like embarrassed like this, and you're like, damn, why don't you just quit, instead of saying like, wait, but why doesn't the media just cover him straight? You know, and that should be the question, instead of why.
That's the question. That's the real question.
The media is, it's about dollars, guys. if we're going to,
CNN
the
is
media is a
done.
whole other. This is why we're doing this podcast,
Yeah,
right? This is why we're here.
And that's, that's why we're here, and that's why CNN is firing their employees right now as we speak. They're firing employees
Trump
at CNN.
single-handedly
They're falling
saved
apart
the
in front
media,
of us.
because you got to understand, print media and digital media was going down. It wasn't until the surge in the Republican primary
Correct.
that led the whole resurgence. So you can even look at the data.
No,
you
I
can look
agree
at the
with you.
revenue
That I've
and
read that.
subscription.
I've read that.
They get-
But what I'm saying is, there's a reason why people where this podcast exists, because there is a need for this kind of
People are
information.
tired.
People
Yep.
don't want to watch MSNBC, Fox, and CNN, and
Read it
hear,
somebody off a
'cause
teleprompter.
it's all ad based. It's all ad based. It's like clicks. Let's get to the story first. Like I told you, the Denzel quote. Denzel said, when you're the first, when you're first, sometimes when you're always trying to be first, you get a lot wrong, right?
Yep.
So what I'm trying to say to you is, I'm not saying quit because you shouldn't, I want him to. I would quit because of like what Maxine said. He's being made a fool, and he's not in the right position.
Yes,
we can all agree that he's a genius, and his contribution in this country was. I think that just because he lived in the projects and got out of it doesn't mean he knows how to fix it. I'm sorry. It just doesn't mean that.
And see,
It just
that's one of
doesn't
the.
mean
And this is one of the good things about this podcast, where people could have that real opinion. And like I said, the real value in like a show like this is the fact that everyone's being honest. So no one is speaking like we don't have any corporations
Correct.
like
Yeah, exactly.
leading our
Just
thoughts.
yet. Just yet.
Yeah. So this is
Give us time, folks.
So this is like the real value in
Right.
it. So you're free to have that thought, but like I said, that still doesn't eliminate the underlying issue that we've given the media this amount of power where they can pick winners and losers, and you can't really win outside of their paradigm unless you're doing shit like Trump.
Yep,
Sorry.
and Dr. Ben Carson does have a lot of outreach within the black churches across the country, especially a lot of pastors around. And that's, if you look at what's going on with HUD, there's a lot of black pastors in the inner cities of Chicago, Baltimore, Oakland that are working to get in the inner cities and get things done.
That's why
that's what Nipsey Hussle was working with. Nipsey Hussle had
exactly. He had to work with HUD because he hit that marathon mall. They were planning on creating a development, so it was going to turn into like it was going to be a bottom floor retail and a development on top. So that's what I'm saying.
For actual residential or commercial?
Yeah, no, it was going to be the bottom level was still going to be the retail, but they were going to build a residential development on top of it.
Wow.
And see,
So
I've been on the phone with people from HUD. People from HUD called me and they were like, see what I'm doing. They're like, hey, when we come to New York, you're gonna, need you to come
honestly,
out just to help. And he said, we want Democrats or Republicans. He told me. He said, you don't have to be. He said, anybody that's a Democrat that wants to help out, let me know. Just like we're coming in for the main cause.
Lady? I forgot that lady's name that handles all of Trump's events. That was Trump's event planner. She's actually probably the closest. I forgot her name.
Lisa? No.
Oh, no, I won't say I'm bad with names. I can see.
But she's like the closest black person probably to that whole
Lisa?
family.
It's not Lisa.
It could be Lisa. I just can't remember her name. But the name's not important. But she's literally probably the closest person to that family that's black. And he put Ben Carson and her in that same department. It wasn't like, I honestly think like it's this simple. Like I really don't think it's that complicated. He's like, all right, so we got to do something for black people. All right, these are the only two black people that really mess with me. Let me put you in the housing and urban development. There's really no other department that the impact would have affected specifically black people more than that department in that administration.
I get
So it's
everything.
important.
I get everything.
Hold on. So what other
Carl,
education?
I get what you're
for
saying,
one.
but
everybody gets into
education? No, he
projects.
could have been he could have been education secretary.
Yeah,
I would have given.
So there's we just think that a
welfare.
brilliant mind could be a little bit more used.
Yeah, I mean,
that's it.
that's just where
that's
I'm
it.
at with it.
But that's not. But politics don't work like that.
I know,
Understood,
but we're
that's
just
why it
sharing
doesn't
our
work.
opinions.
But that's why it doesn't
It
work
doesn't
for the
work.
people, right? Because you're not doing what's right for the people. You're putting someone just because the optics. That's it. You're telling me the optics alone. You supported me. You're my friend. We're gonna. You lived in the project, so you might as well. That's not it.
Yeah.
I also want to bring up another question. This wasn't on our topics, but I wanted to ask you guys this, and hopefully we can keep this fast or simple. What do you think about the fact that what are the problems in in HUD? Like, people are living in projects longer than they're supposed to, right? This was a temporary solution back in
FDR time.
Yeah, back in
Franklin D. Roosevelt.
Yeah, Franklin D. Roosevelt. And it's becoming like basically like an institution for generational poverty.
Well, you know how I feel about
Yeah,
welfare.
but what do you
Welfare
think is the
incentivizing
like? How do you
poverty.
get
It's
out
not-
of? How
like,
do you
you
get
don't-
out of the projects if you've lived there? If your
The
mom
fix-
lives there,
the
your grandmother used to live there.
The rent is
How do
paid,
you-
the
The
electricity.
the fix is not the fix for that problem is not going to happen in HUD.
It's
like
not.
that's an
No.
educational thing. Like
Thank
it's not.
you.
You have
That's
to
family
You
structure.
have to
That's
literally
a thing.
Economics.
Yeah, it's not. That's not something like to even correct that would take like a minimum
what do you
15-year
think?
plan.
You need to
Okay.
because you
correct-
would literally need to take like a base level of toddlers.
Yeah.
And have
Get
to
them out of there.
reprogram
That's
them.
right.
And that's what I said with the
And
fathers and sons.
when they
We
grow
have, we
up,
have
that would be
programs
it.
for
But
the
it-
kids don't have fathers right now in the home. We got programs for them right now to help them. So that's how we do it. It's a 15-year program. The kids that don't
It's-
have
This isn't
It's more about sustainability right now. It's not like
Like, they're just
people.
trying to
and
keep
this
it
is-
going.
Structure.
We need to make sure
Structure.
people aren't dying.
Right, that's
the
it. That's all they're
thing.
doing
And
right
I don't
now.
want to. And I don't. You got to
Or
understand.
maybe HUD needs to focus on how do we transition people from the project
Thank
into
you.
owning homes, or like how do we?
Thank you.
That's not part of the strategy, though.
Well-
There should be some sort of like pipeline for people.
There is no pipeline.
Who are in these? Okay,
But
let's
you
say
don't
you're
want that
making
because all that's going to
Why?
happen because the same people that appoint their friends to the things are their friends are gonna send these same contracts for the housings to their people who own realtor companies. It's just more corruption. Like,
Okay, but
and
let's-
this is why
can we
people don't
pretend-
want to expand
can we
government, like, and they
pretend-
want it to
can
be
we pretend-
limited.
Okay, so can
we're
we
done
pre-
with that though.
But can we?
We're getting elected officials in that are done with
That's
that.
what I'm
They're being
saying.
transparent. They're yes.
Allegedly.
We're
Well,
gonna.
I mean, if you want
we can
Yang,
demand
I mean,
it.
that's a new person.
You guys,
That's someone
we can
new.
demand
Yeah,
it.
but even I'm realistic to the point that as much as I do believe, I like personally feel that he has a good moral compass, and I do think that he genuinely believes in this. I'm not oblivious to the fact that an administration is couple hundred people large, and there's going to be so many decisions that are going to be made by people in the Democratic Party that aren't going to come directly from him,
Of course,
and are going to affect people. So
We got
I'm not like,
lobbyists as well.
Yeah, but there's accountability. Now you can be, people like us. We're
accountability
demanding
for what? You got the Pentagon still loses like $1 trillion, a couple $1 billion
But
every
that's
year.
because
and
you
it's like-
look into that. But like most people are not fed that information. If it's in your face constantly, you're gonna be like, wait
If he
a minute.
does what he says he's going to do, PowerPoints at the State of the Unions, and he's going to say, this year, here's what happened here.
And you're assuming the news is going to cover it?
Well, I mean, it has in the past.
Well, you got to understand
Has
when
in the past.
Millennials think differently, though. We think differently.
No,
and we honestly, for us, we can watch it on our phones. So
Right.
if the media
there were
doesn't do
military
it,
strikes in Syria, and the news didn't cover it, and Yemen, and the news was covering Stormy Daniels during that entire time while airstrikes were happening in
Yep.
Yemen, like active airstrikes.
And look how they're
So again,
currently
it's for you to tell me, so if motherfuckers could shoot missiles and they could ignore that, sorry about that.
It's okay.
Dudes are not gonna tune into PowerPoints.
No.
Dudes will probably still be tuning into Trump's post-election tweets
But we're
more than they'll be
assuming the
following.
status quo is gonna be the case when we look at us in this room. There are so many of us out there that think the same way we think.
No, absolutely.
And if we engage and we also become part of the political system, meaning we also run for office, you got a different population thought process and you got a different political people in office. Why do you not think things would change?
No, I mean it's a lofty ideal, but like even like a person like AOC, you don't think she has handlers?
Yeah.
Of
Where-
course,
where
I
do you
think
think the money
everybody
came
does.
from?
I've said how I
Where do you
feel
think the money
about
came
her.
from?
So
It goes back to
like
young-
so
goes back
like
to
so
the
like
Young
she's
Turks
a
with her.
person that
She was tokenized.
She's a person that you could legitimately. You could
Carol, like, come on,
legitimately
and you
feel
said
like, even though
the
I'm not a
Republicans
fan
are
of her,
going
I
to-
know she probably started this
how
for
have
the
you
right
personally
reasons. You could tell she
benefited
had all that.
I'm not saying I can tell you,
No,
I'm
I
looking
think she
at
really
the
But
did.
you
minimum
don't
Like,
think
tax
people
thinking
cut.
she
I
was
got
come
gonna.
about
for her? She don't-
$85.
they
I get
have
paid
the-
every
they
week.
can
I
come
get-
for
I
her.
got
We got recordings of her. We can be like, remember when you said this? You were live
I thought
doing
I
this
got a raise.
Instagram.
Did
you get a higher
Now
or
we got-
lower
we're
return
people-
or pay
Oh,
more
no, I
tax?
told
I
you
got-
now.
I-
We
I-
got
I- I have no problem
recordings
behind that,
now.
'cause,
We're like,
this is-
we
most
remember
people
when you
are
said
pissed.
this.
Yeah, no,
Here's
but
the video.
I'm coming from a single mother
You can't
perspective.
get
I didn't
away
get
with it
jacked to
anymore the
begin
way
with.
you used to.
You got
Granted.
your
Can we-
single
can
mother with
we
no kids, and
just-
you got
I wanna stay on
decent
this
paying
topic
job.
really
Here's
quick, just 'cause I
chump
wanna
change. So I got
go into
$100
move on to the
less
next
of the chump
topic.
change.
Is there-
So it's
so you're
still
saying
nothing.
the
I didn't see.
solution
I didn't care
for-
compared to what
or
I
not even a
earned.
solution, but like a way
in 2
to start
weeks, I
resolving,
earned
because
that
we
loss I
do
took
feel
in my
like
end of the year
for the
taxes, I earned
listeners,
that back in 2
you
weeks.
know,
Of
the
2
main point
paychecks,
of
I
this
earned that money
this
back.
podcast
And
is
then
to
I add
give
up all the other
people
checks and
just
look how much
a
money I
different-
made
a
in a
different
year because that
thing,
tax.
a different
So
way
you
to
did
think,
your numbers
right?
and you have made
And
more
one
take
thing
home
that
pay.
we've seen in
Definitely.
you know in
Definitely.
the
When I
projects
saw
is
my check, I thought I got a raise. I didn't see
people,
nothing.
it's failed them. It's failed the people. It's failed generations of black and brown people. And there seems like there's no hope for them in sight. Just like you said, all they're doing right now is just trying to make sure people are just alive. You know, the structure is horrible. They don't have, some of them don't have light, electricity. It's like really, really bad. So how do we get them out of there?
They said it's going to be a process.
But to me, this is tied to the welfare system as well, because just as much as there's mold and no electricity, then you got someone in the next project building where it's working out, having a fully furnished apartment, rent, and they're not working. Because why would they? Why should I better my life when you've created this system to keep me here?
And that's not a black and brown thing. That's a historical thing. Anytime you have a government...
We just care about the black... For this, we just care about how do we get ourselves out.
The only reason I want to point that out, because a lot of times when we do focus on our people, like we're just overly critical on our people, and to the point where you might have this disillusion where this is a black and brown issue. It's only a black and brown issue because of this context, this society, and this time. But just historically, when a government just starts to provide sustenance for their people end up depending on that. Like, it's just a system. It's happened historically, and it will continue to happen.
So
you'll see productivity will go down, and you'll see people more dependent on the system.
And that's the thing, but that's what
people put more people in shelters, or put more people, make them homeless.
No, because you got conservatism. It's smaller government.
The children. You got to talk. You got to
have a smaller government. A small government is what you got to put out there, and that's what conservatism pushes. And liberal Democrats want to increase the government. That's going to increase the welfare. That's going to increase the housing, all these inner cities or whatever. So that's the problem we're having right now. Yeah. So it's like, and that's why I keep telling people, look at conservatism. When we were conservatives back in the 40s, we didn't have these issues. The black community was the strongest community in America in the 50s. The strongest one.
Yeah, I think
how do we go from the strongest to the weakest?
20%. They said before welfare, black people they made up 20% of the
GDP?
No. Just basically, oh man, I'm trying to think of the actual the statistic. It literally was mind-boggling. Single family. It was 20% of the homes were single family, and after welfare, it was like it shot up to like 70.
Well, even one book I always
don't know if that's a real fact, but that was a statistic that I read.
It's close. It sounds
it's very true. One book single I always recommend for people to read is called The Original Black Elite. I forgot the author's name, but it's a great book. It talks about the original black elites, like that, the original families, and it's a really good account, and it gives you a lot of perspective, because all this land like around the White House in DC, this is all black neighborhoods,
right?
And it also, for me, one of the things that I already knew, but it really drove the point home, is that we get our strength out of necessity. Like, it's not gonna be, once the government starts handling the solutions, that's when stuff deteriorates from us. When at the point when the government was giving us the least and the least likely to help us, that's when we were the strongest, because we found ways to make things to work, and we built our own infrastructure out of necessity.
Wow.
That's what blacks and them are doing.
So that's why I don't want a savior, and that's why I think Trump is one of the best things for black people, because it's like he's bringing that. Hey, I better get on your grind.
Yeah, and see, that's why